Hello and welcome back to the Max Beaumont channel. That's me, Max Beaumont. And today I'm going to be doing something new. I'm going to be trying to become an expert in something in one day. So I'm going to choose a topic, hopefully become an expert in about 24 hours, and then use what I learned to actually teach you about that particular topic. We'll see how it goes. I honestly have no real expectations. I don't think I'm going to be able to become the expert, but my goal is like on a scale between 1 and 10, but like a 5. I have enough information by the end of the day to tell you about the topic that I learned and hopefully have you learn something as a result of that. So today's topic, drum roll please, is personal finance. Guys, personal finance. That'll be so interesting, right? So I chose personal finance because I was listening to a guy named Dave Ramsey. So some of you guys may know him, but he's a guy who basically helps people who call in figure out how to kind of solve their debt problems or how to solve their money problems. And I was listening to him and I just thought it was super interesting. Like he was giving advice to people who are 20, who are really young on how to save their money and invest their money to the point where they can have a lot of money by the time they retire. And so not knowing a lot about personal finance myself, I thought it'd be an interesting topic to learn more about, to hopefully have you guys learn more about as well, to figure out maybe how I could be investing at a really young age or how I could be saving so that at the very end of my life, I have a nice pile of cash waiting for me. All right, so that is it. I'm gonna go get started with that, so come along with me now. I'm reading some advice first from just Dave Ramsey to get a better understanding of like what he's saying. And there's a terminology that keeps coming up that I've seen before. It's called a Roth IRA. I have no idea what that is, so I'm gonna spend some time researching that, and then hopefully the building blocks will start to pile on. But a Roth IRA is a retirement account that offers valuable tax benefits, including tax-free growth on your investments, but not everyone qualifies. So basically what that means is that if you withdraw any of the money that you've invested, I think it's not taxed, which means that it doesn't count as income. You can collect whatever the investment is from that account. That's basically what I'm thinking it means, but I'm gonna keep going and I'll come back and explain later. Just an update for you. This is going, I think, really well. I'm starting to wrap my head around a lot of this. It's just a lot of like me reading opinions from Dave Ramsey about how to invest, how to save, and then me searching for articles that basically say he's completely wrong and this is why he's completely wrong. Basically, where I start to get to more of a place of truth, where I start to figure out, okay, this is actually the way to do this versus not, and this is why Dave says this is why he doesn't say this. So basically, looking at disagreements is helping me get to a place of greater truth. So I'll report back in a bit, but I'm starting to understand this, which is pretty exciting. Okay, I am all done researching now. I feel like I've learned a lot from Dave Ramsey and from also reading the critics of Dave Ramsey. Basically what I did was I tried to research as much as I possibly could first about Dave's own strategy with investing, and then I just basically tried to search for the opposite. So anybody who thought Dave was really wrong or thought he was a fraud or thought that he had terrible advice, I tried to read why, to try and get to some sort of middle ground where there might be some truth there. So I want to just break down with you what I found and we'll go from there. Okay, so this is the Dave Ramsey guide to investing. So as you can see, the very first step is before we ever invest, he wants us to get out of all debt. So anything that we have debt in, we should be basically trying to get out of it and get to zero on that debt. And then the second is to start an emergency fund, just to save around 3 to 6 months of expenses in some sort of an emergency fund so that if anything happens, like you get in a car crash or you get laid off, that you have some sort of fund there to help support you and your expenses. So that is before we start investing. The second part of investing is to take 15% of our income and save it in a tax favorable account. So he thinks that we should work with a financial advisor of some sort to basically decide which type of financial account to save in, but there are 2 types that I found. Usually it's an IRA and a Roth IRA. Now, IRAs are basically accounts that either you don't get taxed when you put money in or you don't get taxed when you take it out. But then after that, he says to invest in good growth stock mutual funds, and a mutual fund has stocks from a variety of types of companies. He says to basically just invest in mutual funds, and that is the way to go. That is the actual investing strategy, and the result of the investing strategy, as we can see from Dave Ramsey's tweet here is saving only $100 per month from age 25 to age 65 at 12% growth will equal over $1 million. So everyone should retire a millionaire. With this kind of strategy, maybe the high end of that strategy is around 12% returns per year, but that everybody should be able to retire a millionaire by only investing about $100 a month following this strategy. Okay, so now that I've showed you that strategy, let's look at the opposite, a very critical view of Dave Ramsey, and maybe see what other people that went against him said the alternative better strategy is. And I call this strategy the how to become a millionaire by spending $157.05 a month. We have this pre-investing strategy where we want to get out of consumer debt and start an emergency fund. Notice the difference here. So getting out of consumer debt, not all types of debt. One of the things that I found people were critical of Dave Ramsey is that all types of debt are bad. That's what Dave thinks. All types of debt are bad. And most of the people that I read about thinks that not all types of debt is bad. So an example of that is debt that actually produces capital. So real estate is something that could actually produce you income. Therefore, it's maybe not bad debt. Whereas expensive shoes, consumer debt, is very bad. So the advice that I've kind of updated as a result of reading critics of Dave Ramsey's is to just basically say to get out of any sort of consumer debt that you have, aka expensive shoes. The second, like Dave Ramsey had, was to start an emergency fund. Pretty good advice, according to most people. But now let's move into the actual investing advice. I kept the investing 15% of your income, but I added two different options. The first one was to invest in a tax favorable account, which is like we talked about before, an IRA or a Roth IRA. But instead of investing in mutual funds, and this was huge, we want to invest in a low-cost index fund. And the reason for that is very simple. An index fund is essentially a automatically managed mutual fund, one that operates according to some publicly defined, easy-to-follow rules instead of relying on the research of a team of fund managers. You can get similar returns with an index fund without the huge fees, which is why many mutual funds take percentage of fees to pay salaries for fund managers and stuff like that. So basically the argument here against Dave was that there's no reason to invest in mutual funds. You should just invest in index funds because you don't have to pay fees, you get similar returns, and it's probably less risky than a mutual fund. So that seemed pretty compelling to me, so that's why I changed it to index fund. And then option B is to invest in capital assets, a business, real estate, anything that actually produces capital for you. It's okay to go into debt there because it's a capital producing asset. That's kind of what I've understood. And feel free to disagree with me, but that was why I put it there as an option, is that type of debt might actually be an okay type of debt. So the result of all of this. So Dave, like I said before, tweeted that if you save $100 a month from 25 to 65 at 12% growth, you'll earn about $1 million and that everybody should retire a millionaire. A lot of people gave Dave a lot of flack for this, saying that 12% was way too high of an estimate for what you might be able to return on money like that you really should kind of lower the expectations to maybe 6, maybe 8, somewhere around there. 6 to 8% is maybe a much better estimate than 12% is as far as growth goes for your money. This is a real example. So if you invested, let's say $100 a month starting in December of 1973 and reinvested your dividends in a fund with no transaction fees and no taxes that tracked the S&P 500 index perfectly, you'd end up with $636,758.95. So you wouldn't end up at $1 million, you'd end up over half of that, but still you'd end up pretty well. So in order to actually achieve a millionaire status, to make over $1 million, you would have had to invest $157 a month and 5 cents. Anyway, I hope this makes sense. This was a really interesting video for me to shoot. I really enjoyed kind of learning more about personal finance. And I think for me, I'm gonna try and see if I can't set aside around $150 a month to just start putting into some sort of low cost index fund with the idea that maybe that could be a really great kind of fund to have at some point when I'm older. If I need the capital, I think that'd be a great way to produce it. As someone who really didn't know a lot about personal finance before this, or really like any of these terms, this experience has really been enlightening for me. Like I think that many more people could really benefit from spending a little bit of time researching topics that are interesting to them. Maybe it's saving, maybe it's investing, to try and learn what you need in order to be successful yourself. All of this information is publicly available. I mean, I learned in a few hours what some college classes might take me a whole quarter to learn, and I learned it for free, and I learned it on my own time, and I learned it, I think, much more efficiently because I was interested. If you like this style of video, please let me know down below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you liked it, please consider subscribing, liking the video, turning on your post notifications, and if you have any questions at all, comment down below. This goes without saying, but I'm definitely not some sort of financial expert, wizard, any of that. I'm not condoning or recommending any of this advice for you to follow. This is literally just what I found when I was searching Google and doing my own research. So just take everything I said with a grain of salt. It might be totally wrong on that. All right, thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.